All right, welcome to the Grind 329 podcast. It's your man Lonza. I'm your host, and today I got a special guest with me in the building, and I'm gonna let him go ahead and introduce himself. Go ahead, brother.
All right, good. Hello world. This is Ramon. Ramon.
Ramon is in the building. I appreciate you coming on the podcast tonight, man. It's been a long time coming that we got together and chopped it up. And again, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. This podcast, the Grind 29 podcast, is about me bringing people into the fold, out into the world that I know that are shakers and movers in the industry, that have done a lot of background work in the industry and got a lot to say and a lot of things that you can learn from these people that I bring on the podcast. So Ramon is one of those guys that I came in contact with because he has a background in music. I know he throws parties. He's done a little bit of management. There's a lot of things he's done in the music industry that I kind of wanted to pick his brain about. So again, thank you. Appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So tell me a little bit about your background, where you from, and what are some hobbies and some things that you do for fun?
Okay, so my background. Okay, so I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up here in the DMV. That's D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. You know, my hobbies pretty much range from traveling, reading. I love to meditate. I like to work out. And I do spend a great deal of time with close friends and family.
That's awesome. I enjoy some of those hobbies as well. Even though I hadn't worked out consistently in freaking months. That's a good meditation. You mentioned meditation. Those are one of the things that kind of keep your brain functioning and keep you young. So I like that about you, that you stand on top of yourself and keeping yourself fresh and out there. So and one of the things I noticed that you did mention that you travel a lot. One of the things I noticed that you taught your daughter a lot of teachings about the Black dollar. What are some things growing up that made you say that these are some of the things that I'm going to instill in my children?
I think for me, the fact that I didn't have my father wasn't active in like me and my brother's life, and just being around certain friends who had both parents, especially the ones whose parents were like well polished, meaning like come from a educated background, career driven, that kind of stuff. It gave me a hunger to want to know more. Hearing things like venture capitalists, IPOs, stocks, and stuff like that, I really had no knowledge about. And for me, what it did was it forced me to really do my own research, because you know, when you young and you asking your friends questions. Well, let me back up. Back then, there wasn't the internet.
Right.
You couldn't Google anything, so all you had to ask those type of questions. And at times, I mean, it would weigh on some of my friends, like, "Oh man, you ask too many questions, man." I just wanted to know. You grew up around all of that. I didn't. So, but what it did was it just forced me to want to learn more. And you know, I spent a lot of time like in the library, man, just getting books out, especially learning about venture capitalists, because I know that was like a big thing in like the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. More so around like the internet bubble.
So, speaking of, I know that you have Trinidadian and Haitian descent. How does that come into play as far as like the teachings that your families that it's a Trinidadian, or let me just say this: my family is Seminole Indian and just regular African American, straight from the slave blocks, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of my background in our family, we come from sharecropping and farming. Okay. So, you know, two generations back, that's what my grandparents and great grandparents, that's what they did. They did sharecropping and farming and raising, you know, livestock and stuff like that, working in the field. So if you fast forward to now, my generation don't know much about that type of life. And so it's a little bit different than Trinidad and Haiti and Jamaica in that sense. So
Right.
How has that upbringing influenced you to the man you are today?
Wow. It definitely influenced me to be family oriented, because I mean we were, not were, but we till this day we still are a tight knit family, although my grandmother has passed a few years back. But when you think about like Trinidadians and Haitians and Jamaicans, like just going back to New York is one big melting pot, like especially where we lived at in Brooklyn. So it was like a lot of Trini, a lot of Haitians, a lot of Jamaicans. So it's like, just different cultures mixing together, man. Just the vibe, just your next door neighbor is going through the same thing you're going through, or really your grandparents are going through. Because my grandparents were immigrants, so it was tough for them. But at the end of the day, what they taught us is something that that I cherish all the way up until now. I mean, as far as just being a hard worker, spending a lot of time with the family, the cooking. I mean, everything that we value in our tradition. Of course, it was strict. It's definitely a strict household. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but like a lot of Caribbean families, like those households are very strict. So that's one of the things that I don't think that part came with me into parenthood.
Right.
My daughter's spoiled, but everything else, man, like just being family oriented, that close knit, that love, that brotherly, that motherly, that sisterly love. I mean, that's impeccable.
And you know what? As much as we like to think we're different, we're still alike. Based
Right.
off of, even though New York. Let me. I don't want to I don't want to talk bad about people from New York, but everybody that I ever met from New York has always been very confident and very expressive that there's no other better place in the world other than New York. Like I've been stationed all over the world, and everywhere I met somebody that's from New York, they are adamant that New York is that place. If you ain't from New York, you ain't from nowhere. You ain't did nothing if you ain't been in New York. If you can't handle the streets of New York, you just ain't it. But what I took from that too is that a lot of people that I met from there are resilient. They're tough. A lot of them work hard, and in order to live in that environment, you have to. It brings a special type of energy out of you to live out there. I've only visited about once. I've been out there once. I maybe flew to pass through and flew in, but I went to Brooklyn once before, and I couldn't stand that the traffic was going all night long. Like I couldn't sleep. Like all you hear horns, blowing. You hear people talking, all night long. It never stops.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I couldn't live here. And also driving out there, oh Lord, I probably maybe almost wrecked probably like 5 times because people like honking. They want you to get out the way.
Yeah.
And being a person who's not familiar from there, I'm like real cautious when I'm driving through and trying to figure out where I'm going. So I'm like, man, this is just crazy. People just they're very expressive. So salute to anybody that's listening to the podcast is from New York, man. I love y'all. Like I've met very good people, and I have very good friends that are from there. So so tell me about your how did you get into music and started getting into management and artists?
Okay, so how I got into music, it's crazy. Music has always held like a special place in my heart. I always loved music, even like just ever since a little kid. I mean, I taught myself how to play the keyboard. So music always been a thing for me. But what's crazy is I just got promoted to the 10th grade. We just moved. My mother and I just moved from Landover Hills, that's a city in Maryland, to Seabrook. My next door neighbor, Sheila Cutchlow, I don't know if you ever watched The Wire, but she had a recurring role for like 2 episodes on The Wire. But she was my neighbor, and her and my mother, you know, they got along well, everything, man. And it wasn't until she told my mother what she did for a living that's like what opened up the doors for me. She was the branch manager at PGD, Polygram Group Distribution, where me and John went to school at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, directly across the street. That's the name of the building, but it's a big corporate building. But that's where PGD Mid-Atlantic branch office was located.
Okay.
So that summer, after my 9th grade year, she pretty much gave me a job up there as an intern.
Wow.
That was my big break. So I'm in there. I'm trying to soak up as much as I can. I'm learning, and I realized that it's a lot that goes into the music business. PGD had other labels underneath it, like Mercury, Island Records, A&M Records. Those were the record labels that PGD used to distribute for. They handled like the distribution, the marketing. I mean, everything that you could think of, man. We had a college reps there that was tasked with getting the word out to different universities and things in that nature.
Wow.
Man, this is going back. Okay, so I got a good one. Ill Out Scratch, remember? Scratch looked up and down saying, I'll take her. Remember Brian McKnight, right?
Yep.
The group Ill Out Scratch and Brian McKnight were label mates. He was the distributor for Mercury Records. Ill Out Scratch came to DC. Hung out with them for maybe like 3 days. And when I say hung out with them, I don't mean like personally, but like the one of the reps for Mercury Records was tasked with taking them, and I think their manager name was Brian, but we was tasked with taking them around to like radio stations, the record stores like Kent Mill Music, Waxy Maxy, stuff like that, and just to see everything that was going on as far as like them signing autographs, promoting the single, because that was like your second single off the album. I think the first one was We're My Homies. It had a little buzz, but the collaboration with Brian McKnight, that was the thing that really catapulted like their career.
Wow.
But just being involved in all of that, man. You just see how it's more to music than just making music. You got to really know the business side, the business aspect of it. And I got stories, man. Shanice, I love your smile. Like when she came, same thing. We didn't. I wasn't with the rep that took her around, but when she came by the branch and she was just sitting in the office, I believe her mother was a manager at the time, just sitting there listening to them talk and taking pictures and stuff like that, man. Like, yeah. But that's how I got into it, man. It's crazy with that story, man. Because Sheila Cutchlow was like, that was my next door neighbor.
Wow.
And she was the branch manager.
Yeah, it's a small world, and we always say that it's about the network and who you know, and how you get in the rooms is very important when it comes to the music business. Right. Shout out to John Abel. That's one of my Marine Corps brothers. That's crazy that y'all have that connection, that y'all went to school together, and we talked earlier about you all being Golden Gloves and boxing.
Can I add something else?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I wanted to add was, the high school that John and I went to, a lot of celebrities came out that school too. Lawrence.
Really?
Martin Lawrence came out that school. Yes. You remember
Wow.
Maya? It's all about me. She did that collaboration with Cisco.
Yeah.
She was there when me and John was there.
Wow.
Nobody. She was always beautiful. Don't get me wrong. She was always beautiful, but she was a skinny mini. But she was there. She graduated in '96. She was there when we was there.
Wow. I want to say I seen her in '97, and that's a year out of high school. So that's crazy.
So she was there. Two buddies of mine, they went on to the NFL. One had he played several seasons in the NFL. One only played like one or two. My man Charles Hill. My man Derek Burgess, man, when he came out, he graduated from Roosevelt, had a scholarship to Mississippi State. From Mississippi State, he got drafted to, I think, the Eagles, and then from the Eagles, he went over to I want to say the Raiders. Jermaine Lewis, I don't know if you remember the name. Jermaine Lewis that played for the Ravens.
Nah.
Number 84. He was on the team with Ray Lewis. Number 84. He returned a punt in I think it was the 2001 Super Bowl for a touchdown. But like he wasn't there when we was there. He was long gone when we got there. But his little brother, John knows his little brother. Like we all was in that clique at Roosevelt. Dwayne Lewis.
Wow, that's crazy.
So a lot of big names came out of Illinois Roosevelt High School, man. A lot of big names.
So it's only it's only gonna be in your trajectory that you're gonna be great in the world. So
I hope, man. I hope I don't overlook some opportunities, and just being honest, man, I really didn't take advantage of a lot of opportunities, and that opportunity that Sheila Cushlow gave me back in 1994, man. That's a ship that's long sailed, that's long been sailed.
Right.
That was the opportunity that I feel that I missed because Lonza, man, I was meeting a lot of people, man. I was it was a recording studio, one of the biggest recording studios here, called New Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
New Horizon Sounds. And I was there all the time. And I'm gonna bring up, may he rest in peace, but DMX.
Mm-hmm.
That, stop, drop, shut them down, run on top. He recorded that. You could Google this too. He recorded that song in that studio. Was I there when he recorded it? No. But the engineer, Greg Powers, was mixing down. He had some input on that particular song. Darryl Pearson. He's a guitarist,
Mm-hmm.
but he was also He was also the musical director for Jodeci. Jodeci used to be in that studio all the time. And Darryl Pearson, he did a lot of work in that studio. He had a group called Born in August that like him and Devontae Swing was trying to put out there. For whatever reason, they never made it. I know that they had a song like on what is that segment called? On Video Soul. I think this is when Sherry Carter and Donnie Simpson Video Soul. Video Soul. They had like one song there, one song that was airing on Video Soul and like the local radio stations around here. This guy named Jerome, he was another big time producer. Well, yeah, he was another big time producer. He was in this group called N Phase. N Phase was the group that R. Kelly founded. So I was all in the mix, man. And it's like when you hear the story of Puff Daddy, I should have been the second Puff Daddy because I was all around it. I just didn't take advantage of it, man.
That's a good story for people to listen to and hear, because sometimes you just don't know that you're in the space that you need to be in, that's where you should take advantage of, and sometimes just life just takes you in a different direction. So it does. So that's another thing that you look back with hindsight today, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just one of those things that happen. One crazy thing is that I don't think that I've ever met a celebrity ever. I think I've been in the airport and I saw Fabulous. I seen Fabulous in the airport in Atlanta.
Yeah.
When I was like, I don't know, 19, I think he was in the airport, and my cousin was driving to pick up his brother, but I wasn't dressed like. Well, the way the story happened is my cousin had came by my house and he's like, "Hey, I'm riding to Atlanta to go pick up my brother," and I was like, I'll go. So I was like, asked my mom, "Hey, can I ride to Atlanta to the airport to go pick up my cousin?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was just in some raggedy clothes, like just outside playing kind of clothes. So I didn't like change clothes, and then I was looking bummy as hell. Yeah. And when we got to the airport, we picked up my cousin. I was like, I saw a group of people like crowding this person. I was like, what are they doing over there? And looked over and I was like, "Oh, that's Fabulous." And I was like, "Nah, I'm too bummy. I can't even go over there and say, I'm a fan or whatever." So I was like, "Hey, it's a missed opportunity." But but other than that, man, I can't think of one celebrity that I've actually met in real life. And I've thrown some shows and I've been to some parties and stuff, but I just hadn't ran across any. So,
man, it's crazy with me because I've been around so many of them. Even when I wasn't working at PGD, man. I remember I had a cousin that went to Hampton University, man, and I want to say this is like 2002, but either 2001 or 2002. But I went out there for like that weekend, man, and we went to some mansion party. I didn't see Allen Iverson, but they said Allen Iverson, it was his party. But who I did see was Ray J.
Oh, yeah.
He was like right here. Like when I walked in, I'm looking at this dude. But full circle, I saw him is when he was out there, because the Neptunes, that's where they're from, Virginia Beach.
Yep.
So around that time, that's when he was out there working on his album, and I'm pretty sure you remember the song "Wait a Minute," a little collaboration him and Lil Kim did. But so it all made sense. But I've seen him, man. So I saw him out there at Hampton University at some mansion party, and then maybe like a few months later, I saw him right here in DC, man. We was going to DC Live. On downstairs, and it was just raised. I'm like, man, I seen this dude like a couple months ago out there at Hampton, chiefing and everything. And then how he performed, his performance was to go the way he wanted it to go. It kind of got a little rowdy in there, but leaving, and we ended up leaving a few minutes after them. And as we were walking out of because DC Live had like 3 levels, so we just left totally just to kind of like go around the corner, go to the Ritz. The Ritz is the club that when Puffy was at Howard University, that's the club that Puffy used to use to throw parties at. So yeah, so we were walking out of DC Live to go around the corner to the Ritz, and we saw Ray J again. His bodyguards was outside, kind of like fussing at him because he was trying to. I don't know if he was trying to pull out or parallel park, but he was in the Range Rover, man. But so yeah, man, it was crazy, man. But yeah, man. So I've been around I've been around quite a few celebrities, man. Ill Al Scratch, man. That was like I've been around somebody for like a couple days at a time, man. Like we actually hung out, meaning I was with them driving around from different like the malls, passing out their photographs for them to sign off on to, I mean everything, man, and it was cool, man. Cool, level-headed, chill. Their manager name was Brian, man. He was real chill. He was always on the phone, or he had his briefcase, always going in his briefcase for something. Another celebrity that was cool. You remember this group called the Grave Diggers?
Grave Diggers, yep.
Rap group. You remember? Yeah, the RZA. But it was like for a day. They were trying to promote their album. I think Diary of a Madman.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, man. But they was cool, man. But the RZA, like, you remember that time a while ago? I told you I had an ASR 10.
Yep.
The ASR 10 was because of the RZA.
Wow. You better.
I was around the Grave Diggers. That one day I was around them, man. I hung with them for that whole day. listening to him talk, man, because his mind, he has a busy mind, a very creative mind. And I asked him, I said, yo, man, I want to do beats, man. What should I get? And he was like, yo, ASR 10. That was it, man. I saved up my money and I copped me the ASR 10. And then when I was at when I was back and forth between PGD and New Horizon Sound, I know back then that's when they was rocking the MPC 60s. So that's what I wanted. And I was trying to get my money together for that. And then Rome, the one I was telling you about with N-Phase, the group that R. Kelly founded, he had this group that this 3-girl group that he was producing. He bust out with the MPC 2000. They're picking his brain about it. And he was like, yeah, man, when you quantize, man, it does it automatically. It's not like you got to manually go in there and quantize the notes, and it does it automatically, man. So I remember him giving me that crash course, but it was the RZA, the reason why I got the ASR 10, man.
That's
wrong, man. I was around. I really didn't realize what I had right there at that time, man.
Right.
It's crazy, man. I was so young and I couldn't fathom it, man. I was just like, not in La La Land, but just, I was never starstruck, but just, I didn't realize, like, yo, this is your moment. Because in music, and I remember you said we were going to talk about this, people like, how do you get into music? Everything is opportunity. Everything is opportunity. You could rap, you could do all the beats, you could be the tightest beat maker out there. But if you're not trying to exploit and explore whatever opportunities is out there, you're no good.
Right.
And sometimes, even if you're not exploring, sometimes the opportunity might fall in your lap, just like how it did when we moved to Countryside, and Sheila Kushler was my next door neighbor. And my mother came in and said, Ray, you wouldn't believe this. So Sheila, she's the branch manager at Polygram Records. I think I was doing dishes, man, but I think I cut the water off, and I was looking at my mother like, wait, say what? Because around that time, man, like, yeah, I was so, I mean, like, I would come home from school, watch Rap City. You know, this is when Chris Thomas, the comedian, used to host it. This is when Prince Paul Dejoy used to host it.
Wow.
You know, speaking of which, I'm good friends with Prince Paul Dejoy. I'm friends with him to this day. We still cool, man. He's one of my Facebook friends.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, man,
you're busy
right here, man.
You're busy living in the moment. You ain't really thinking about the next move at that point, or it's not like now where you know we have cameras right there in our phones, and we have social media, and you're thinking, okay, let me capture this moment, or you know, I need to have this for historical, you know, for something that I'll use later on in life. You ain't thinking that because you're in it. So, and that's one of the things that now that I try to do is document as much as I can, take as many pictures as I can, because
absolutely,
I know that in my family, since in the last 4 years, my mother, grandmother, brother have all passed away in the last 4 to 5 years, right?
Sorry to hear that.
And yeah, appreciate that. And the one thing that I know about them is that none of them love to take pictures. They did not take pictures. Like, we never took a family picture. We talked about it, but we could never get everybody all together to like take family pictures. Like we've taken pictures where it's only like half of us. You know, the time I go visit and it's only this part of us. We go visit and then it's only this part of us, but never where everybody was in one place where we can all take a family picture. And unfortunately, you know, we didn't get a chance to take that big giant family picture. But that just taught me in life that you never know what's going to happen next. So you should stay in it, live in it, and document as much as possible. So that's right. I try to document as much. Like, we go out to eat, I'm taking pictures of the food, I'm taking pictures of us at the table, just so that, you know, it's documented, that it's there, that we can come back, you know, 20 years from now and say, hey, I remember we went to that restaurant and where we had sushi for the 150th time, and you know, we tried roaches and ants or whatever. Right. That's nasty. I shouldn't have said roaches with food. But, you know, you tried a delicacy and you know, something that the kids will remember. So my next question to you is, what would it take for 2022 Ramon to get into the music business right now?
Man, Lonza, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, an opportunity. Knowing what I know now, realizing like what I had right there in the palm of my hands back then, back in the 90s, in high school, a high school student. Puffy was a college student. I was a high school student.
Right there. Same trajectory. You just one step away from that.
I would do it. I would do it. The right opportunity, that's what it would take. Because like I said, you know, it's not so much as skill. I mean, skill does play a part. Networking does play a part, but it's just the right opportunity. Yeah, you could know people, but are they really going to look out for you?
Right.
Kurslow looked out for me because I didn't have to do an interview. Well, you could say I did do an interview, but it was just her and I just talking, me asking her a whole bunch of questions, her just sitting there smiling like, I can tell you're very eager. I said, yeah, I want to do this. Yeah. So, but the right opportunity, that's all it would take, man. And if it was to ever present itself, man, I'm hitting the ground running and I'm never looking back.
I like that. So tell me, say for hypothetically, I brought to you a duo artist group such as Outkast. Who else would be a good duo that I can throw out there for you? Just a 2-person group, right?
Okay.
What would you be looking for? Just straight off the street. Just started their social media. They don't really have many fans, but what are some key things that you would be looking for if I brought them to you to start, you know, having a conversation about artist development and management? What are some things that you would be looking for in artists?
Chemistry, creativity, originality. That way, you know, it's always important to stand apart, man. And drive, hunger, just being on autopilot, work ethic, commitment, dedication. Just wanting to evolve, because that's what music is right now. I mean, music has evolved since like the 90s. You know, the whole thing with the drill music. I don't know too much about that stuff that my daughter listens to, but just listening to drill music. When I first heard of may he rest in peace, but the late Pop Smoke, I didn't know who he was. But then when I heard Welcome to the Party and that beat, I ain't gonna lie, that beat made me feel, I was like, yo, that's a hard beat. It's just talking about originality and creativity, and like I was talking about how music has evolved to like the whole drill music, the drill music scene. And the first time I ever heard of Pop Smoke and I heard that song Welcome to the Party, like that beat was just everything. But that made me download his album and go on YouTube and look at whatever other projects that he might have done, because that was like a different type of beat. So, you know, that's what I would look for in the artist. You know, how willing are you to push the limits of just trying to not just recreate, but also to create a new sound that the fans could take from, could gravitate to. That's what I would look for.
I like it. I like the answer, and there's probably going to be some people that's listening that need to hear that, because I tried my hand at managing one good time, and that's only out of necessity, because I needed to. I had a group of artists, probably had 5 at one time, that I was producing for and recording. My background is engineering.
Okay.
I got into production a little bit later, just because every time I had an artist coming in to record, they're always like, hey, I got this beat off of YouTube, and I like this song by the Locks that I pull these instrumentals, I want to rap on that. And they'd always ask, do you got any beats? And I'm like, yeah, I don't make beats. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna start making beats. So
Right.
I got into making beats, and now I've transitioned from engineering to just straight, just producing. I don't even engineer and record no more. I still have my studio set up to go at any point in time, but my love for engineering has took a back seat to producing.
Right.
But what I want to say is that I think there's a lot of people that needs to hear the direction that people need to be going, because just because you have a big social media following, and just because you make music, that don't really mean that you are in a place to be the next Lil Wayne. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It takes all those things that you talked about, having that drive and having just being different and being bringing something new to the table, not just
Right.
You know, you talked earlier about drill music, and a lot of today's, and it's just my opinion, a lot of today's music sounds, to me, in my opinion, is copycat. No, a lot
I
of
agree.
drill, it's repetitious drill, it's the same beat, same sound, and you coming in and people are rapping like Pop Smoke.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's 6 songs on the radio and they sound like Pop Smoke.
Right.
So what I'd like for music to come back to is just like originality. Like, you know, remember when the Fat Boys came into play, right?
Yeah.
Fat Boys had a different sound than Run DMC and
Yeah.
Public Enemy and LL Cool J, and then they had the look. You know, they had the fact that they were fat.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
played
But
into
that was the marketing. That was the marketing.
That was the marketing.
Marketing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which
Yeah.
was great. That brought attention to them, and people ran to that. You know, Biz Markie is another one of those guys that, like, you wouldn't really believe if you just looked at him in the grocery store. You wouldn't believe that, you know, he was a human beatbox and that he DJ'd, and, you know, and then not on top of that, now he rapped. Now you
Yeah.
listen to, you know, that type of brain and what he's bringing to the table, what he's talking about in his music. So that's what I want to see come back to the music industry. I want to see that originality.
That's that. Now I miss Originality era, man. For me, was like the 80s and the 90s, man. The 80s, man, you had Big Daddy Kane, man. Like you heard him on the radio, you knew exactly what time it was, man. You listen to Cool G Rap, DJ Polo. You know, you already knew what time it was, man. You Biz Markie, you knew what time it was, man, because he had that goofy, that goofy swag with him. Rakim.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I ain't gotta say nothing about that, man. So I mean, even with the 90s, man, you look at a lot of the groups that came out, like the Far Side. She keep on passing me. You know, they had like that little distinctive sound. The Underground, you know. Are you ready? Same song. You know that. Even Laws of the Underground. Check it, microphone, check it. Leaders of the New School. You know, when Busta Rhymes was, yeah, man. And then the turning point was when Wu-Tang dropped.
Yeah. It was all over. I remember.
Oh man, dude,
like,
protect your neck.
I was in high school and I got a Wu-Tang tape with a Wu-Tang yellow symbol on. It was like cassette tape.
Yeah.
And just a single cassette tape with a single on it. It had the Wu sign on. I was like, man, this if this is what. See, I'm from Florida, and I'd never seen a skyscraper in a building business, a business building like you all have in New York, tall buildings.
Right.
What I saw on TV, like the Cosby Show, that's where my brain was looking at. Like, I want to go and see the world and see those kind of things. But that Wu-Tang cassette made me think that, wow, if this is what New York is bringing, I definitely got to see that part of the world, because that is just totally insane. Rapping 8 minutes on a song with 10 guys on the song, that's unheard of. You never saw that, like 10 guys, you know, and then trying to remember who, you know, Killer Priest and you know, trying to remember all the sections of it. It was just like you had the main guys, and then they had their subsections of
little subordinates, like Killer Army, Sons of Man,
Yeah.
I guess you could say grave diggers because the RZA was in that group too, man. But man, you know, around that time, man, MCs, the best MCs, not trying to. And I remember with you, the comment, the statement you made about New York. You know, everybody in New York. I'm not doing that, but but right here, I got to say this. I got to make this statement. The best MCs was coming out of New York.
Yeah.
The best MCs. I'm talking about. I mean, man. I mean, Jay-Z, Nas. I mean, I could take it. Let's take it back to the '80s. Look at Rakim.
Right.
His metaphors. I mean, the way he used to put his music together. And it's crazy because what people don't realize is his words was hard, it was to the point, and he never used profanity.
Right. No cursing.
And he was one of the top MCs. Now let's talk about right now, man. I mean, big ups to Jay-Z. I like Jay-Z, but man, for me it's JEDA. JEDA's an animal. When it comes to like true lyricism, JEDA's an animal, man. And I'm not talking about battle rap. I'm just talking about just guys that's, you know, when they say something, man, you just sit there, especially if you had a wonderful childhood, meaning you used to get up early Saturday mornings, watch Saturday morning cartoons, and used to watch all the old sitcoms. And to listen to Jada and how he would take certain things from back then and put in his music, man, you was like damn, I like how that was smooth how he did that. That was real slick. You know, yeah, man. So, you know, originality is everything, man. It's watered down now. It's crazy how it's crazy. It's the irony is back then you had you had the nicest MCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them was getting raped by the record label.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The irony is nowadays you got a lot of MCs that are just corny and they making money.
Right. I was just gonna say that money. It's a money move. Now music is about the money move and the power play. As long as you have that power play that you are a clown. I don't want to say clown, but you have a presence. As long as you have that presence across the world where people know you based off of your social media and your antics, that's music is that's how the superstars are now being identified instead of the actual music content and the actual art of being in urban rap hip hop music. That's what's happening today. And so if you're not that anomaly, like that, you know, that skater white dude that can rap like Eminem, you're pushed to the side. You know, you can have all that talent you have, but if you don't have something that's, we talked about this earlier, marketability, you don't have that the music industry ain't looking for you in that respect. So that's why I asked, what would it take to bring you back into music now? Because now music has changed. That's one of the things that, you know, uphill battle that you'd be fighting against. But they say that if you do a job that you love, you never work a day in your life.
That's true.
So being that, you know, music is one of your loves. I won't say your first love, but being that music is one of your loves, I think that you'd figure a way to make it happen.
Right.
If the right people was brought to your attention and to your table and to your feet.
Right.
So speaking of New York, we'll move on to something different. Speaking of New York, this week September 11th is coming up. Do you remember where you were on September 11th?
I do. I was in orientation at a Washington Hospital Center. I just got hired. I was in orientation, and I remember I think it was like the second day of orientation, and I remember it was a lot of commotion going on outside. From where we were in that particular part of the hospital, you just saw like a lot of ambulance, like just coming up, like blaring sirens and everything. And that's when I learned about 9/11, because some of the ambulance had some of the victims from the Pentagon that they was bringing over. Yeah, that they was bringing over to Washington Hospital Center, man. And yeah, I was shocked. Like wow, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. I can remember too. I was stationed in Charlotte, North Carolina, and at that point in my military career, we really hadn't been on any big deployments. And when that happened, we were all sitting in the conference room having lunch, and it was on the television, and we were like looking at each other like, yeah. I know what's gonna happen. I know what's happened next. All this stuff we've been training for all these years. This is the time where it's gonna come into play, because that's the play. That's what's gonna happen. So we all looked at each other and said, "Hey, now's our time." And at that time, we were actually training Marine reservists and in Charlotte to do their job in a combat zone.
Okay.
And and our guys were one of the first groups that were transiented to active duty military bases to go to Iraq on the first ramp ups for the war or whatever. So
Okay.
our guys went out there and did those details, and yeah, I remember it being like, is this really happening? Like a plane hit a building?
Yeah.
But yeah, brought that up because it's always good to reflect and remember, have snapshots in your life, and that's one of those snapshots that I'll never forget, and I think that a lot of the world won't ever forget that day, and the people that we lost, and the people that we lost after that, so that's a
Right.
very humbling situation. So God bless to those families, and rest in peace to all those people that we lost. So let's before I want to put you on the spot. All right.
Okay.
So I got this game that I came up with, right?
Okay.
And the reason I came up with this game is because I am terrible with lyrics. I am terrible with songs. The reason that I could never be an artist because I couldn't get on the stage and remember all my words. I'd really screw the words. I'd probably be having to, if I had some type of fan base, my fan base would be out there singing my words, and I'd jump. But anyway, the way the game goes is I throw a word out to you. For example, let's say river. And then you either can sing the song, you can either talk the words of the song. However it comes to you to come up with this word that's in that song, you sing the song. You have from the count of 10, and you'll hear the countdown that will sound like
10, 9, 8, 7.
You have down to 1 to come up with the answer. And then if you get it right, you will get a bell.
Okay.
You get it wrong, we'll just laugh about it, and then we'll go to the next question.
All right.
So five words. All right, first word is gonna be streets. STREETS. Streets.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I don't have a verse. I don't know the verse in its entirety, but the streets is watching. Jay-Z. I don't know if that counts for something, man. The streets is watching.
Love it. The streets is watching, and he did say that in the song. All right, so the streets is watching. Was that on Reasonable Doubt?
No, that was
Blueprint.
what was that? I want to say In My Lifetime. Was it In My Lifetime?
Yeah, In My Lifetime.
I want to say it was in My Lifetime. Yeah.
That's a classic album. I love that album.
Yeah.
Speaking of love, the second word is love.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
I gotta, go with Houdini. One love, You really gotta have just one love.
See, you pretty good with it.
I'm
All right,
trying, man.
let's see. Next word we got is money.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
So I got to go with Tupac when he did the collaboration with MC Breed. Gotta get mine, you gotta get yours. I got his Tupac verse was, I got my mind on my money, money on my mind, finger on the trigger, hands on my nom, putting holes in pumps, smoking mad blood, something to that extent. Yeah.
Acing it. See, and I'll tell you. All right. So next word is you. YOU.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
All right, so I got to take it. We talked about Biz Markie earlier. May you rest in peace. But you got what I need. You
Yes,
say
sir.
he's just a friend. Oh, baby, you.
Rest in peace to my man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
That'll never.
The 80s, man. The 80s. I was running around with a snotty nose when that song came out, man. Getting in trouble, man. Getting whippings and everything, man.
Last word of the game is her. HER.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You got me on that one. Her. You got me on that. I can't think of anything. Her.
Awesome. Well, you did very good. I think you got 4. You got 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. We'll have to rewind that and see how you did. But let's give you a round of applause. That is very hard. That's very hard to do, and it's hard to do on the spot too, especially when you don't know what the words are.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So tell me, future plans. I know that you've I peeped earlier that you traveled to some places like Belize, Cancun, Mexico. I'm sure you've already been to Haiti and Trinidad, but
Right.
plans. Where are some other places that you visited, and where do you what's on your future plans as far as traveling? Where you want to go? Bucket list of places you want to go.
Okay, so I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico twice actually. Puerto Rico, Grand Turks, Curacao, St. Martin. I'm trying to think of some other places I've been. I was supposed to go to Italy last December 28th through January the 5th. That didn't happen because of the whole thing with the COVID out, just the numbers going up, and a couple of people I was going with, I tested negative, but their results came back positive, so we ended up canceling the trip. But I do have some upcoming trips, so I'll be going to the Bahamas next month. And that's going to be probably like the last big trip for this year with the upcoming holiday season. But next year, I'm looking forward to I've been to Dominican Republic, but I'm looking forward to going there again next year. And Colombia, and I know we've been talking about trying to do like a trip to Egypt.
Oh,
so one of my goals, Lonza, is I want to see all 7 of the ancient wonders of the world. So I want to see the pyramids. I want to be able to touch that with my own hand and look at it with my own eyes instead of looking into a TV or the history books. I want to be right there, just like how I was when I was in Mexico last year. To see the ruins, the ancient temple, man, just to learn about the culture and all the stuff that went on back in the day and how they're credited with creating like the Aztec calendars and stuff like that, and how they incorporated astrology into creating the calendars and stuff like that, man. So, but yeah, so that's one of the things I want to do. I definitely want to, finish seeing like all 7 wonders of the world. So that's Egypt, that's Jordan, that's Rio de Janeiro, Brazil Christ the Redeemer, the Great Wall of China.
Yep.
It's in Rome. Like I said, we were supposed to go there last December the 28th to January 5th. So with I had my heart and my mind was just set on Rome because everything was mapped out. The excursions was mapped out. The hotel that we would have been staying at, like you could look out your balcony and the Colosseum was right there. So that's on the bucket list, man.
That's dope.
And what's also on the bucket list, since we're speaking about music, I do want to get back into promoting, but this go around, I wanna promote shows. I want to promote shows that features national recording artists. So that's something I've been just doing my research on, learning about budgeting, learning about standard contracts between a promoter and a national artist, different venues, how to negotiate terms with the venue that you plan on, that kind of stuff, man. So that's what I've been working on kind of quietly. I haven't really told a whole lot of people about that, but that's something I've really been thinking about doing.
Love it. I think that you're gonna do very well, and based off of I'm still doing music over here, and I have a few people that are trying to do some of the same things. So I think that it'll be good to kind of connect, put all our heads together, and kind of figure out how we can move together. And
right,
that's pretty much the gist of the podcast is to put the puzzle pieces together, because so many people do so many different things, and so many people that I know that are good at a lot of different things. And I think that once the transformation, the transformer comes together, I think that we can come up with the total product once we put our heads together. So again, is there anything that you'd like to promote, or any wisdom that you'd like to impart to listeners before we get out of here? Like, you have any social media? Also, you have any social media that you'd like to put out there for people to see you at, or anything like that?
Yeah, as far as wisdom, just that I've acquired through my journey in life, man. Just life has there's no rewind button in life. You got to make the most of it. You got to really do what makes you happy. And I came across a quote that Ray Lewis made the other day, man. I thought it was very profound. And it says, right now is all we got. And the greatest opportunity in the work is found in today. So, I just want to leave the listeners with that, man. That's what kind of stuck in my head. Because again, man, opportunities are they're abundant, but they're also scarce, man. And I don't know if that I'm not sure if that makes sense to everybody, but when you really sit down and you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense, man. It put things in perspective. It's abundant. Opportunities are abundant, but it's also scarce, man, if you don't use it right.
I love it. So again, man, Ramon, man, I appreciate you coming to the podcast, and I think that our listeners are going to really learn something. They're going to pick up something from the podcast, and we are not too far away from each other, so we'll definitely we have that phone.
Right.
To connect in politics, so we'll be doing some work in the future. So, So again, y'all, appreciate y'all joining the podcast. This is the Grind 329 podcast, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause for our guest. hope you've enjoyed the show. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast, contact us at zay2001@gmail.com. Follow the Grind 329 by Lonza podcast on YouTube and Instagram. Type in at BeatsbyLonza.
Drug War Veteran in stores right now by King JEDA. El Jefe is the game.